Good day, podcast community. Pete Kane here, Podcast Pete, and co founder of Podcast Academy. My co founder and partner, Mark Little, is sick today. So you got me today. Normally we have you split out, but we're going to just do it like we normally do it, but it's just going to be one of us. So why should you even pay attention to this? Well, if you haven't really been dialed into what trends are happening out there, podcasting is working. It's working because it allows you to create a digital asset. It allows you to tell stories. It allows you to build relationships. So when you look at the most recent elections, one candidate did 40 hours of podcast. One did with Joe Rogan. One did not. One was afraid. One was, he put himself out there. Now, if you're afraid and you let fear control you, it grows. If you listen to the courage muscle and you put yourself out there, it grows. Is it scary at first? Absolutely. I remember the first one I did. I didn't know what the heck I was doing. I was fumbling through it. It was a golf podcast, and I was fumbling through it, forgetting people. We did foursomes, and I'd forget to ask questions a different one. It was a mess. But you got to lean into being uncomfortable. As we say, honor the struggle, because you will not ever get anywhere letting fear grow. I had a person, he was a client, and I asked him to speak at our live event. He turned me down the first time, and then the second time he turned me down. And I said, "What do you have going on?" This was well in advance. "I got a wedding at 3:00. "Okay, this is 10:00 in the morning. "Where's the wedding?" It's in Canton." "Okay, 45 minutes away, maybe." "What do you need to do to get ready for the wedding? You're not a girl. You don't have hair to take care of. You don't have to spruce yourself up." No, he was scared. Scared to step out. Scared because I had a person tell me a while ago, a couple, 4 or 5 years ago, that when I was scared, take the focus off yourself, because you're scared because you're reflecting on how you are coming across. How do you look? Will you say the right thing? Just all the things about you. Take the focus and put it on one person. Who are you speaking to? Put your ideal person that's going to receive that information. Going to receive that information, and focus on them. Focus on that person. You have the message. Focus on that person. The fear goes away. Then the courage grows, because you want to help that one person. So you don't mind, you don't care if you say the wrong thing. You're speaking from the heart anyway. So it's not anything about saying the wrong thing. That's what Kamala Harris, afraid to say the wrong thing. We're going to give you the questions. We're going to control how much time, 45 minutes, that's all she's going to speak. That didn't work. And it didn't work. That's why she lost. She let fear, because she's afraid to get out there. And if you're afraid and you let fear grow, it's going to continue to grow. But if you lean into it and say, "You know what? I am uncomfortable. I'm scared. I've never done this before." And you just go out there and do it and think that one person in the audience, if what I say can affect that one person, then your courage grows. So when it comes to Podcasting Academy, we want to give you a framework, and we want to give you the necessary thing to shorten your learning curve. Can you learn on your own? Absolutely. Because I did. But 3 years later, I wish I would have known what I know today. 3 years ago, I would have had a path to cash. And as a result, I didn't. But I learned, and I made all the mistakes. all the mistakes, plenty of mistakes. And I want to shorten that for you. Jump on the back of my mistakes and join Podcast Academy. We use StreamYard because it's a content creating platform. It has your branding, it has your content, it has the ability to do podcasts, ability to do shorts, ability to do banners, call to actions, all the things you need. But we can help you get through it faster. And AI is moving this business so fast. If you are not aware of the best strategy for you to succeed, you're going to get left behind because the early adopters always win. Now, do sometimes they make more mistakes? Yes. But consider me the early adopter. Learn from my mistakes. Learn from my mistakes, because what we're going to teach you in Podcasting Academy is the 7-11-4. And you get the book, Key Person of Influence by Daniel Priestley. You're learning from other people who have already done it. He teaches about the 5 Ps: pitch, profile, product, presentation, and partnership. Now, what is the 7-11-4? 7-11-4 is we're in a digital world. Creating digital assets is critical for people to get to know you, like you, and trust you. When they get to know, like, and trust you, they do business with you. But the days of you doing business locally and not digitally, globally, are behind us. Now you can do business with people halfway across the world because they can consume your digital content, your digital assets. That's what a podcast is an asset. A book, an asset. One's a physical book. The other is a digital asset. Both are assets. Assets are the key for you to be successful. If you don't have assets, you don't have a business. Look at how everybody that is going to succeed, people buy assets. Key strategic partners have assets. They think, I've got to get my content out there. I got to build my profile. I've got to learn how to pitch. If you're pitching too long, we're in a time-starved culture right now, and it'll continue. Our time is our greatest asset. It's what you got to learn how to do better in is manage those time. That's a whole different podcast for a different day. But if you say to me, Pete, what do you do? I generate leads, create cash flow, and build thriving communities. Okay, done. 5 seconds. If you say nothing to me, I say nothing. If you're not interested, if you don't raise your hand and say, Pete, tell me more about how to generate leads. We do it through podcasting, publishing, and building thriving communities. Okay. If they say nothing after that, I don't need to go any further. I'll ask them some questions. What kind of business are you in? And what has been your biggest struggle in growing, or something like that? Because I want to connect. I want to learn more about the person, but I don't have to throw up on the person because I'm passionate with what I do. Not everybody's the same. I don't have close to the passion I have because they don't have my story. Growing up dyslexic and ADD is a weird combination. It was my curse, but now it's my blessing. Having a stroke 3 years ago eliminated my golf game and my running. 2 things I enjoyed doing: being outdoors, running 20-some Peachtree road races. I used to play golf 5 days a week after work, and I don't. But things change. Just like in your business, things change. You always got to be changing your strategy depending on what's going on. I don't have it right in front of me, but the book, This is Strategy by Seth Godin, is probably his best book. And it's it's no it doesn't have chapters. It just has all these different strategies that he talks about. And that's what you got to have, a different strategy today. If you're doing the same thing you did 5 years ago by trying to be in the top 3 of Google, well, it's not working like it used to, because they're going to TikTok, they're going to Google, they're going to Shorts, they're going to different ways, podcasting, they're going for different places to get the information. Where before Google owned search, they don't anymore. They lost that. Do they still have search? Yes, absolutely. But it's not as like the Yellow Pages. For those who are over 50, if you hear that and you're 25 and you hear Yellow Pages, you have no idea. That's where we used to find businesses. A big old fat book that the phone companies made all their money. But that changed when Google came about. People didn't need that as much, and eventually didn't need it at all, because they don't even have them, I don't think. But you had search on your phone, and when you needed something, you would go looking for it. But it's changed now. So you have to be a key person of influence, because you've got to create content. Content is your profile online. Because if I meet you and have a good conversation with you, what do you think I'm going to do? I'm going to Google you. I'm going to search your name. I'm going to see what the digital world says about you. Because if we've had a good conversation, I am showing interest. I'm showing a buying signal by checking you out. But if there's crickets on your profile, you've lost me. I don't have a chance to get to know you more digitally. And that's what 11.7.4 is. 7 hours. Roger Dunbar came up with that. People have to consume 7 hours of you digitally. They have to make 11 buying signals. That's Google's 0 moment of truth. And they need to see you on 4 different platforms: a podcast, a book, a workshop, an assessment, a LinkedIn post, a webinar. All those are different platforms. And when they do that, the brain doesn't know the difference between digital and analog, or digital and physical. So it just like, I'll take you back to when Steve Jobs passed away. I remember seeing this memorial of flowers and everything imagined, like things that you would normally give to a loved one or a celebrity or somebody that you got to know through the work that they did. He impacted so many people through his innovation. People thought they knew him. So when he passed, it was personal to them. Stuffed animals, just flowers, and crazy, because they had got to know him through his digital world. iPhone. No, excuse me. iPhone, iWatch, iPad, iTunes. All these things are Apple products that are fantastic. People love and they love the App Store, where millions of apps are in there that are connected to their ecosystem. So they have an ecosystem. They have assets, great products. That's why they're the number one valued company in the world. And for you, yes, you're not going to be an Apple overnight, and it didn't happen for Apple. But for you, it's a decision to say, how am I going to be a key person of influence? How does Podcast Academy help me in this journey? It helps me because it's not who you say, it's who the online world says you are. And podcasting, publishing, and building thriving communities is a central part of what we do. And so the Podcast Academy allows you to shorten your learning curve. I learned a valuable thing. Success leaves clues. When you go back to to Daniel Priestley. When I heard him several times on podcasts, videos. Then I had a person, Christian, come on my podcast. Don't know how he came, but we connected and he had an incredible story. But I had asked him, how do you want viewers to reach out? He says, well, I have an assessment and I have a newsletter. I said, okay. So I took it down. Well, after the podcast, I said, oh man, I've heard that assessment before. I wonder if it's the same one that this guy, Daniel Priestley, had been talking about. This is before I got any of the books. I have all 4 of his books, 24 Karat, 24 Assets, Key Person of Influence, Entrepreneurial Revolution, and Scorecard Marketing. I have all 4. Read them all. Listened to this book, Key Person of Influence, probably 8 times, maybe more. It's my go-to, just understanding it. But I was consuming him. So I feel like I know him from his content, his assets. I've read his book. So say this book takes you 3 hours to read, which maybe for me, that's what but 2 hours maybe. Speed read it, get through it. That's 2 of the 7. Okay. 11, I take an assessment. I attend a workshop. I comment on a video. I buy other books. I've made a lot more than 11 buying signals. And I see him on 4 different platforms. I figure I know the guy because I've been able to get to know him, like him, and trust him through his content. So when it comes to Podcast Academy, we can help you. You don't have to spend a lot of money on equipment. Some basic things, an account, and start. Because progress versus perfection. I had a friend, he was launching a podcast. He had to have all the equipment. But that's just that person, a comfort level that sometimes we get into. We all get into this, like, I got to have this, I got to have that before I can start. I got to have a website. You haven't generated $1 and you buy a $3,000, $10,000 website. That's what I call a train wreck, because that will crush your cash flow immediately. Get 3 customers right away and do them however you do it. You don't have to spend money. Go out and ask people. Look, if I have this, would you be interested? If they say yes, say, okay, it's $200. They say, no, I'm not really interested for $200. Then you know that you haven't gotten to the point where people are voting with their dollars. Maybe, well, what would you need? What would you pay for this? Oh, I pay $100. Okay, I'll give it to you for $100. Okay, and they buy it. Then you know you have something of value because people are willing to spend that amount of money. But if friends are, you got to be careful when people say that's a fantastic idea. I get that. Okay, why don't you? How much? This? Oh no, not for me. Then you don't have anything. Don't fool yourself, because thinking about writing a book and writing a book are 2 different things. If somebody says, do you have a book? Yeah, I'm thinking about it. Then you don't have a book. But if you hand them a book, that's an asset that you hand them that they can consume of you. And that's good because they're interested, possibly, when they read it and they come back and say, man, that's great. What do I need to do? And inside the book, it's really just giving them enough to move the relationship forward. So it may be assessment, it may be a workshop that they attend, but it's in the book because you're writing the book not to write it for a novel. Give them everything about you. Give them enough that they want more. Because if they're interested, they'll want more. But if they're not, then they're not going to give you any buying signals. So be sensitive and have your self-awareness to know when people are making buying signals. And so that pitch becomes critical. That's why it's number 1. Because when you give a 5-second pitch, 10-second pitch, If they say, tell me more, or what about this? It's a buying signal. If they say nothing, you do nothing. Just ask them about themselves and forget about pitching you because they have no interest at this time. So when they meet you and then maybe they weren't interested, they say, hey, that guy really had some cool things or gal had some cool things to share. And then they search you and they look at your digital profile and you don't have anything of substance up, ghost town, crickets, then it stops there. So that's why at Podcast Academy, we help you to have a digital strategy, to have a strategy of becoming a key person of influence. Because if you become a key person of influence, we want to plug you in, connect you, because by being on the podcast, and you can be on my podcast, you can be on Mark's podcast. If you go to pkane.me, just pkane.me, take a short assessment, and then I know a little bit about you and I can ask better questions. But what you're looking at is our path to key person of influence. Now, in this, we're connecting you. We're connecting you to Growth Day, 7 Days Try, Meetup, where we teach you about the book and the essential things to be a key person of influence. Podcasting Academy is the assets. That's number 3. Number 4 is we do twice a month key person of influence summits, where we have 10 speakers, 15 talks, and we do it twice a month. Twice a month, we do a webinar where we help to educate you. Twice a month, we have a Q&A so you can ask questions, and people show up because it's one on many. Once you learn this concept, you'll have more time. The people that meet one-on-one and do it and spend an hour and don't even know what you accomplished, that's a waste of time. And if you're doing that, you're giving away so much of your time. Workshops, we do a monthly workshop. We have a live event. The 4th, you go to pkane.me/live, and you can see we do it the 4th Saturday, where we have 10 speakers, 15 talks, 5 minutes, 3 points. We do our virtual event. So that's where you can go to pkane.me/virtual. And to connect with us with what I'm showing you on the screen, we have ways to connect you. We have ways of introducing you, building those relationships, because it's about podcasting, publishing, and building thriving communities. When you become a guest on our podcast, we will connect you to people, because building the relationships are critical. The solo entrepreneur is a misnomer. It doesn't mean it's not a solo. You got to learn how to build teams. And if you think you did it by yourself, you're totally kidding yourself. There's not a person that achieved a level of success that'll say, I did it by myself. Nobody helped me. I did it by myself. Didn't need a team. Didn't need anybody. You need a team. You need a team. You need relationships. And you need a way for you to generate those leads, build those relationships. And we do this through our podcast. That's why we always will invite people to be a guest on our podcast. So you can experience, test, sample what a podcast is all about. It's not until you are on one will you understand it. It's an absolute high for those that like it. Now, if you don't like it, you don't want to be out there, that's your choice. But for those that do, and those that want to understand the power of the 1174 and being a key person of influence, because if you do, you're going to want to be on the cover of our magazine, because by being on the cover of the magazine, you are the key person of influence for that magazine. And when you look at this magazine, this is the one we have up on Amazon. You can order it at Kennesaw Happenings, but that's me right there on the right side. 3 years ago, I found myself waking up in a hospital bed and alive, thank goodness, but not having a left side, totally paralyzed on the left side, learning to speak, eat, do everything you have to do. And even more, because when you lose half your body, the other half that works is affected. So you had to learn how to be resilient and recover, because the thing about business and life, there's no easy path to anything. We say honor the struggle because in the middle, when I was telling you about Christian, he said something that made a lot of sense in another um, webinar that I was with him on. PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. There's two things. You can take the D and you can put a G or a W. The G stands for growth. The W stands for wither. That's Marx has that shared that with me. We're always learning from each other. So post-traumatic stress growth. I grew a whole lot by going through a stroke, learning that can't play golf anymore like I used to, can't run like I used to. So life is different. And in your business, you're going to have things that, hey, I used to do this, it's not working. Got to change your strategy. And podcasting is not something I wake up, go, oh, or you wake up and go, man, I'm going to be a podcaster. Well, you see a lot of them, you listen to a lot of them, but you got to understand how the strategy can work for you. And if you go to the magazine, picture yourself on the cover of the magazine, and inside the magazine is your key strategic partners. You build these intentionally. These are people you know, like, and trust that have worked with you over the years, that when you come to the table of your ideal prospect, you're bringing a team of people. So together, you're better. You bring one person, little effect. Bring a team, great effect of value. So in the magazine is your key strategic partners. We say gold, silver, bronze. Your closer ones are your gold. Your silver is just a little bit further out. The more strategically and intentionally you build your team around you, you're stronger. And each person in the magazine has a podcast. So people can get to know them, like them, and trust them. Do you solve a problem? People got to get to know, like, and trust through the 7-Eleven 4. That's why it's so important. So our podcast is always sponsored by Growth Day. That's your personal development. That is investing in you. Because if you want to learn to be a leader, you want to learn to master and grow and take advantage of the Netflix of personal development, and have Brendon Burchard speak to you for 7 days for free. Do your 5 to Thrive. This is your rocket for the day, rocket fuel for your rocket. So think of your business as a rocket, and Mars is the 10x place you want to go. Got to have fuel. I was at my PT last week and I didn't fuel myself properly at 10 a.m. No fuel. Oh my gosh, did my body tell me I made a mistake? Because when your body tells you don't have fuel, man, you know it. And when your business doesn't have fuel, it's called going out of business or flatline growth. And today, if you're not growing and growing strategically through new methods, 7-11-4, through through the 5 Ps, pitch, profile, product, presentation, and partnerships, well, the people that do apply it will be the winners. Get Daniel's book, Key Person of Influence. Just Google it. Buy it on Amazon. You can go and check out our magazine. You can buy that too if you want. You want to see it? There's 32 people in there. It's just a sample. so you can see it to understand it. But that's me. You'll read about my story in there, and got a book coming out. Got more magazines coming out, because if you want to be a key person of influence, being on the cover of the magazine and surrounding yourself with key strategic partners is going to explode your business. It's going to be the fuel for you to grow. And today, you can't sit around and just wonder, because the world will fly by you like you're standing still. AI is just moving at a rapid pace. And I'm going to give you our masterclass. So this is our masterclass at pkane.me/masterclass. And in there is the third is podcasting and podcasting academy and creating online courses. But in there is 10 steps for you to have the fuel for your business. Look at your business as a rocket. You need to have fuel. The better fuel you have, the higher that rocket's going to go and the further it's going to go. So take advantage of it. You can just get our masterclass for free. And then jump on our podcast. Be on our podcast. Be my guest. Take an assessment. Help me to learn a little bit about you. And then if you want to connect with us on our ways we connect you, add value to you, introduce you to our community, go to pkane.me/connect. Thank you so much. Pleasure being here. We hope Mark gets better, and he'll be back with us on Monday at 10 o'clock next week. So thank you so much. Be bold, make a difference, and have fun. Be bold, make a difference, and have fun.